Hello, hello. Welcome to another tier episode here of my breakdowns of D&D 5th Edition's classes. Today we're going to be moving into one of my favorite classes. I know I've said that at least 5 times by now, which is about half the classes, but that's just because each one has something really, really nice. But this one is just so unique that I think that this is a class, and I think anyone who's played a rogue can admit to this. The rogue is probably one of the most well-built classes in 5th edition. And what I mean by that is that almost every level that you go, you get something good. You know, there's some subclasses and even in some cases entire classes where it's like, you level up and it's like, oh great, I get 1 extra spell slot, which is maybe decent, but it's not like huge game-changingly broken. It doesn't make me feel any more badass. Or it's, oh great, I leveled up and all I got was a proficiency bonus bump. It's decent, but I'm not really feeling like I get anything good. A rogue, it feels like every time you level up, you get something. And what it's good at are the things that I, at the very least, really enjoy playing. So I love the rogue. I love talking about the rogue. The fact that I love them so much is probably why they're going to be very, very top-heavy, but it is what it is. But let's stop talking about it and let's talk more about it, specifically about the subclasses. So, tier list. My tier list has not changed. F tier means unplayable. All right, if you find yourself in a F tier subclass, then what that means is that you are playing a subclass that just has nothing going for you. It's whatever character concept you had in your mind, a blaster mage or a tanky frontline or a healer. It's not helping you. No matter what the situation is, it's just not good. And as someone who is a metagamer, or not a metagamer, someone who is a min-maxer, as someone who is a power gamer, I personally, I need my subclass to help me out. Otherwise I feel like, what was the point of me picking this subclass when this other subclass is so much better? So I consider that unplayable. All right, at D tier, we have situational at best. That doesn't mean that this class sucks horribly. It just means that you need to be in very specific situations in order for this class to actually be useful. Outside of that, you're going to find yourself being overshadowed by your party members all the time, which if I don't feel like I can contribute much to what's happening around me, then why am I here, right? That's how I feel. All right, C tier is mediocre, which means you're at least, in terms of consistency, way better than D tier, and you may even be good in certain conditions, but that mediocrity is going to kind of, shine through most of the time. All right, B tier, we have decent, but it's lacking. All right, so there's just something about it. It could literally just come down to 1 or 2 of its subclass abilities that just don't really do much for you, or they're so, or some of the things that are good are really good, but maybe they're just too situational, and it drops us down into B tier. A tier, solid choices. All right, these are rogues that I promise no matter which one you pick, they are going to be fun for you. They are going to be rogues that you're like, holy shit, I can do a lot of things. It's really cool. It's really fun. I love it. And so then you can just choose whichever one fits, the character concept in your mind the most. Before finally, of course, ending with my S tier, which is, of course, in my opinion, the best subclass. All right, so F tier, we have none. We have no F tiers here. All right, this is, the rogue is such an excellent, fun class that even the worst of rogues can be decent, thanks to their sneak attacks, thanks to their, their dexing, their dex builds, the fact that rogues will naturally be able to, rogues really, they are very, very ability score efficient, as in you don't need to spread your points too much. So whatever you want to be good at, you can really invest really heavily in, and it will help you in a multitude of ways. So even the worst rogues are not F tier. D tier. I almost didn't put any into D tier, I'll be honest. I almost thought, you know what, I don't even think any of them are so bad that they deserve to be in D tier, but there is one I just couldn't get behind, all right, and that is the Mastermind Rogue. I wanted to like this rogue so much because I love rogues, and I love the idea of having someone in the party who's just like the fucking brainiac, right? Someone who just thinks of the plans and is able to help it. The problem is that D&D 5th edition, especially when we're talking about combat, because that's generally when helping your party members, kind of really shines through, is in combat situations. the best way a rogue can help their party members is to kill the things that are trying to kill them. That's, or trying to give them advantage, or trying to, assist them in other things. And the Mastermind Rogue just, it falls short. And sadly, since it's falling short on the thing it's supposed to specialize in, even everything else that just being a base rogue gets is not enough to save this from D tier. So Mastermind Rogue, I'm sorry. I love you. I wanted you to be something good, but you fall too short too often. So I'm putting you here in D tier. All right, but let's take a look at it here and maybe get you to understand. So, Master of Intrigue, when you choose this archetype at 3rd level, you gain proficiency with the Disguise Kit, Forgery Kit, and 1 gaming set of your choice. It's good that they give you multiple kits. I like that. The bad part is that it's mostly for flavor, but I do like that they did make you choose. All right, it's Forgery Kit and Disguise Kit. So right out of the gate, you can, dress up somebody, immediately give them falsified papers and shit. I like that. All right, you also learn 2 languages of your choice. Additionally, you can unerringly mimic the speech patterns and accent of a creature that you hear for at least 1 minute, enabling you to pass yourself off as a native speaker of a particular land, provided that you know the language. So basically, you go, you eat dinner with someone, you sit next to someone in a tavern, the person that you need to impersonate to break into a certain building or something, and you just listen to them talk for like a minute. And then after that, you go, you dress yourself up as them if as long as because the disguise kit cannot make you look like, a different race, so, as long as they can kind of pull it off, then you can immediately forge some documents to make it look like it's you immediately, hopefully, the language that they do, you can sound like them. This is a really, really good way to just naturally do, say, a disguise self or alter self, without having to rely on any kind of magic to help you. Alright, Master of Tactics. At 3rd level, you gain the Help action as a bonus action. Additionally, when you use the Help action to aid an ally in attacking a creature, the target of that creature could be within 30 feet of you rather than 5 feet. This is good. These are both decent abilities. One of them helps you really outside of combat. The other one helps you in combat, because now you, as a rogue, you have that bonus action to cast help. To offer help. Which basically just grants a creature advantage on a strike. Okay, and that's what the Help action does. Now, these are decent. However, okay, and you're getting used to this at this point, right? I say something, this is decent, and then I throw in the but, right? The problem is the Master of Intrigue. I ask you, I implore you, to think back at your recent campaign, players. How often have you needed to mimic, to disguise yourself, forge something, and pretend to be another creature? How often has that been something that, like, we need to do this? This will make this quest, this part of whatever we're trying to do, so much easier. Can you even, if you counted on, say, your hand, do you even fill your hand? I bet not. And that's kind of like, it's such a cool ability, but it's, again, one of those things where it's like you have to be playing in a very specific campaign. Like this kind of class in, like, say, Waterdeep Dragon Heist, maybe could actually be pretty good. But again, now I'm having to throw in those specifics, right? And the whole point of D tier is that it is situational. This is good in very specific situations. All right, Insightful Manipulator, starting at 9th level. If you spend at least 1 minute observing or interacting with another creature outside of combat, you can learn certain information about its capabilities compared to your own. The DM tells you the creature, if the creature is equal, superior, or inferior in regard to 2 of these choices: intelligence, wisdom, charisma, class levels, or class levels if they have any. At the DM's option, you might also realize a piece of the creature's history or one of its personality traits if it has any. So, like, hey, you get the sense that this creature, he's very confident. He'll come at you head on. He likes to throw his weight around, so, hinting that maybe, he's a brute. He's not really going to, cast too many spells at you. He's going to close the gap pretty quick. My issue with this is that, 1, you only get to pick 2. 2, secondly, does knowing a creature's intelligence, wisdom, or charisma score, is that going to make a huge difference? It might, if maybe say your party buildup is made up of spellcasters and maybe your most powerful spell ability is like, say, hey, which would be easier? Is it going to be easier to banish it? Is it going to be easier to hold person? Is it going to be easier to use, Maximilian's Earthen Grasp? Like, if we knew what some of these scores looked like, then maybe we could kind of in our brains, kind of metagaming a little bit here, but, I would say that this would be okay to metagame a little bit. If the party knew what its charisma score was, then maybe we could kind of get a guesstimate as to how good its saving throw is. The problem is that it's always going to be a guesstimate, because I could tell you that this creature has an 11 charisma, and you're like, oh shit, well then we're going to be able to use spells that have charisma as its saving throw. What I don't tell you though is that it's proficient in it. So yeah, it may only have a 12 charisma, but it has a +4 proficiency, so its saving throw is actually +5. Like that doesn't, nowhere does it say that that's a thing that I have to reveal to you. And also, the whole class levels thing, like, I guess, maybe, there might come a time when you're going up against an actual, like, human being enemy, whatever, and maybe it might, be beneficial, like, hey, this is like a 5th level fighter. He's got 5 levels of fighter and 3 in rogue. That might be something that might be beneficial. But again, it's I'm having to make these specifics, right? And as soon as I have to start making specifics, it drops it into that C or D tier. And right now we're here at D. All right, misdirection. Beginning at 13th level, you can sometimes cause another creature to suffer an attack meant for you. When you are targeted by an attack while a creature within 5 feet of you is granting you cover against the attack, you can use your reaction to have the attack target the creature instead of you. What? Like, what? Like, I'm hoping you get that same reaction that I did the very first time that I ever read this. So this requires me to be next to somebody. It requires that somebody to be giving me cover, which, for the record, having someone with a shield does not grant me cover, by the way. There are certain kinds of shields that grant cover in D&D 5th edition. A tower shield provides a form of cover. So this requires me to be next to somebody, probably in the front line, which most rogues generally do not want to be. I have to be next to this person. They have to be granting me a form of cover. And then third, I have to use my reaction to, instead of the enemy giving it to me, I have to give it, I have to force my buddy, the person who's next to me, to take the damage instead of me. What if they can't take that damage? What if I'm standing next to a cleric? What if I'm standing next to a fighter that's already been hit 5 times? And a 6 is going to knock it to 0. I feel like they were going with something here with the 3rd and the 9th level ability. And then this 13th it's like falling flat on its face. And the very first time I ever read this, this is one of the abilities that made me, when I read it, I was like, I can't put this in anything but D tier. For this ability fucking alone. Like, this is a dead ability. This is an ability you will not use often, if any, because of the stipulations you need. Alright, 17th level, you have the Soul of Deceit. Your thoughts cannot be read telepathically, by any means, unless you allow it. You can present false thoughts by making a deception check contested by the Mind Reader's Wisdom Insight check. Additionally, no matter what you say, magic that would determine if you are telling the truth indicates you are being truthful if you so choose, and you can't be compelled to tell the truth by magic. How often does your DM actually, maybe if you are in a murder hobo campaign, and your DM is constantly sending like paladins and clerics and good people to find you and hunt you down and try to put you into court, and you're being, constantly under the zone of truth spell because you keep being in bad places because it probably is you, and you probably are murdering people. Like, how often is that actually happening in your fucking campaign? Probably not too much. I think I can count on one hand the amount of times, one of my longest running campaigns that took like 2.5, 3 years to go all the way through. We started at like level 8 and we ended at level 20. I think I can count on literally one hand in those 3 years the amount of times that I had certain players have their minds get read. And maybe that's my fault. Maybe I should use that tactic more often. Maybe that is, it is something useful. It could be something cool. My problem is that this is a 17th level ability. It does nothing to help your party. It does nothing to benefit anybody else, which again, your third level ability, that's all this is. You know, you get this, when you get this class rolling at third level, you know, you get the help action as a bonus action. You can maybe help disguise somebody, forge their documents, help them out. And then here it's like, I don't know, it's like they tried to take the training wheels off of a bike, and instead of taking the training wheels off, they took off the goddamn front wheel. And you're just landing on your face. So no, this is why this class is in D tier for me, absolutely. All right, also in D tier, I have the Thief. This is another one of those classes that, again, I thought of trying to make it at least into C tier because of what it could be. But again, the more I thought about it, the more I keep having to make it situational, and we'll get to it and maybe prove it to you. So Fast Hand, starting at third level, you can use your bonus action granted by the Cunning action to make a sleight of hand check, use your Thieves tools to disarm a trap or open a lock, or take the use an object action. So basically, I can use my Cunning action to either make a sleight of hand check. I can, you know, which, you know, this could be a thing. Maybe, you know, you're playing in a campaign where the DM's like, hey, you moved up to this person who you're trying to pickpocket from. Now you have to wait until your next turn to use your action to do so. Or sorry, you have to use your action now to pickpocket them. Whereas this is like, nope, I can use it as my bonus action, which means I could then use my action to dash, you know, to get the fuck out of here. So maybe useful. Use your Thieves tools to disarm a trap or open a lock. If you have the time to disarm a trap or open a lock, I bet you I bet you a bonus action to action probably isn't that big of a difference. Unless your DM has like made a combat situation where you need to get something open and open a lock, you know, while in the middle of combat, then maybe. But do you notice what I'm doing already? I'm already having to come up with unique situations where a DM would do this in order for this ability to work out. Or take the use an object action. So this is something where like, hey, I just got hit. Normally, if, you know, I'm giving an object to somebody else, like if I give a health potion to somebody else, most DMs usually rule that as an action. Well, if I take it myself, it's a bonus action. Maybe you could ask the DM like, hey, if I use this, you know, can I use a bonus action to give a potion to somebody else because of the use an object action, Cunning action, Fast Hands ability? Maybe. But again, I'm having to come up with situations about it. So already we're starting off at kind of a rocky start. All right, second story work. When you choose this archetype at third level, you gain the ability to climb faster. Climbing no longer costs you extra movement. In addition, when you make a running jump, the distance you cover increases by a number of feet equal to your dexterity modifier. Dexterity modifier. That means the most you could ever fucking jump more is by 5 feet. I have the oddest feeling that your DM has probably, if your DM is making you run, I bet you 5 feet is probably not going to make a difference. And as for the climb faster thing, okay, I guess. But I bet you your DM is still going to make you run, you know, roll acrobatics checks no matter what. And I bet you your DM probably wasn't even considering, you know, how long it would take you to climb something. It was just, hey, make an acrobatics check. If you succeed, you get to the top. And if you fail, you fall on your ass. Yeah, third level, we're pretty shaky. All right, Supreme Sneak. At 9th level, you have advantage on stealth checks if you move no more than half your speed on the same turn. Okay. I guess. I suppose this maybe is beneficial. I will say, however, that you being a rogue means I guarantee you probably have expertise in your stealth. I bet you already by 9th level have like fucking plus 12 to your stealth. Is advantage something you desperately need right now? And is giving up half of your movement speed something that you're willing to do to get it? I guess, maybe. If maybe you're in the middle of combat and you're being, you know, and you're an archer rogue, and you're like, hey DM, if I just move 15 feet, you know, from this tree branch to this other tree branch, do I get advantage on my next stealth check to try to hide from the creature? Maybe. But there we go again. I'm having to give you, I'm having to do it, right? I'm having to give you different, you know, situations to make it work. All right, 13th level. Use magic device. You've learned enough about the workings of magic that you can improvise the use of items, even when they are not intended for you. You ignore all class, race, and level requirements on the use of magic items. I think I can count on one hand the amount of time, the entire time I've been a DM, which is going on like 6 years now. 7 years. 6, 7? Right around there. We'll say 6.5. You know, we'll go right down the center. In the 6.5 years, I think the only time I have ever forced class requirements on on magic items is when I had a particular player who was playing a subclass that really sucked and was really below the bar compared to his compatriots. That I made a magic item that would be pretty powerful to most other players, but I thought I'm going to ensure that this magic item can only be used by this player so that this player knows that this is meant for them, to bump them up, to get them up to the same degree as everybody else. Besides that, I make magic items and then just give them to the players and say, yeah, y'all fucking figure out who's getting what. I don't know. Maybe, I feel like this is an ability from, and maybe it's because I've never played past editions. I am a completely 5th edition D&D player. So maybe in past editions, maybe having level requirements and race requirements and class requirements, maybe that was a really common thing in past editions. But in 5th edition, I don't really see it too often. I feel like party members do a pretty good job of like, hey, who would benefit most from this magic item? Here you go, you have it. And then just going with it. But maybe that's me. All right. Thief reflexes. When you reach 17th level, you become adept at laying ambushes and quickly escaping danger. You can take 2 turns during the first round of any combat. You take your first turn at your normal initiative and your second turn at your initiative -10. You can't use this feature when you are surprised. Now, nowhere does it say here that you cannot use sneak attack on each one of these. So in a way, you basically get to go 2 turns, both using sneak attacks if you can get them off. This is good. This is a good ability. This is a solid ability. But let's look at it in context. This is your capstone. This is your 17th level ability, which means odds are only about 30% of most D&D campaigns will actually make it to this 17th level ability unless your DM started pretty high and told you guys, hey, we are ending at level 20. Like, that is where we are going. If you start at level 1, I'm sorry, but statistically speaking, something is going to happen that's going to make it so that you never reach this point. Whether the campaign ends, because most campaigns, Rime of Frostmaiden, Curse of Strahd, Wilds Beyond the Witchlight, like a lot of campaigns right now, Strixhaven, Watergate, yeah, Watergate with fucking Richard Nixon. He's coming into D&D. Sorry, Waterdeep. Like, all of these campaigns, they're meant for tiers 1 to 2. And maybe you can go in a little bit into tier 3. You might have a DM that's like, yeah, if you guys get to level 13, 14, 15 before you fight Strahd, I'll let it happen. But I doubt any of these campaigns make it to 17th level. Or, and this is the more shitty one, but it's just as common, if not far more common, to be honest, or something happens and the campaign just, it diminishes, it falls apart, players, people move, schedules get messed up, like the chance of you getting to 17th level is rare, which is why I'm so critical of what 17th level capstone abilities are, because not many people reach them, so they gotta be fucking good. And the fact that this is only first round of combat, which means that this is an ability that once you use it, that's it. It's done for this combat. And all it does is give you an extra turn. You're a rogue. Odds are you're only able to attack once per turn anyway, unless you've multi-classed. But odds are you're only going to attack once a turn anyway. So the best you can do is basically attack twice and get 2 sneak attacks off, which is a chunk of damage. I'm not trying to minimize that. I'm just saying that for how good this ability is, it is something that not many people are going to get. And for how high a level you have to be to do it, I just don't think it's too much. All of this combined is why it is in my D tier. Now, if you have a mindset, if you're like, I want to play a thief, I want to play a klepto who's literally just stealing out of everybody's pockets, then sure, go for it. But I think what you're going to find is that even playing this class, like when we talk about some of the other rogues, and I have one particularly in mind, there are better subclasses of rogues that help you be a thief than the fucking thief subclass. So, I don't know. This to me is D tier, 100%. Just a lot of its abilities are situational at fucking best. Alright, C tier. We don't have many of these. In fact, I think this might be the only C tier because, again, the rogue class is pretty top heavy. Alright, and that is the Scout Rogue. All right, Skirmisher, starting at 3rd level, you have difficulty. You are difficult to pin down. You can move up to half your movement speed as a reaction when an enemy ends its turn within 5 feet of you. This movement does not provoke opportunity attacks. This is a nice little ability. You know, big bruiser comes up, maybe even hits you once. You know, and you know, then it ends its turn. You can, as a reaction, move half your movement speed out of the way, so that maybe, you know, if it's a creature that, you know, has, say, legendary actions, or things of that nature, it can't pummel you immediately throughout that round. It's okay, but again, it's specific. You know, not provoking opportunity attacks, that's okay. But what I find is, especially at like lower levels here at 3rd level, how often are you really like, you know, oh, the enemy came up and you know, hit me for damage. I mean, theoretically, like, I'm going to be able to go first before them anyway, so I'll probably be able to get out of the way earlier. And since I'm a rogue, I can use my bonus action to disengage. It's not bad. It basically gives you a free disengage at the end of your turn. So it's not bad. It's not a bad ability. I wish it was a little bit better. I don't know how we could make it better. Maybe by just allowing them to use their full movement speed. That would make this really good. But it's not bad. Right? It's mediocre. Alright, Survivalist. When you choose this archetype at 3rd level, you gain proficiency in nature and survival skills. If you don't already have it, your proficiency is doubled for any ability check you make that uses either of these proficiencies. So you get expertise. Like, I don't know why they don't just say you gain proficiency and expertise in nature and survival. But hey. Again, not bad. I guess this is good if you don't have a ranger in your party. If your DM is constantly sending things that, you know, you have to go hunt down out in the wilds. You need to go hunt food. But if that's not the campaign you're running, and if your DM is pretty lax about it, like, hey, whenever you guys are in town, you know, I assume you guys spend, you know, let's say, you know, if someone in the party pays a gold piece, we'll say that you guys pick up, you know, you refill your food rations every time you go into town, then this ability is basically pointless. But it might be useful. It could be useful for you. All right, 9th level, we have superior mobility. Your walking speed increases by 10 feet. If you have a climbing or swimming speed, this increase applies to that as well. Do you feel as lackluster as I do right now? Yeah, I thought so. Moving right on, because that 9th level is just, it's a wasted level. I'm afraid to say it is a wasted subclass ability. 10 feet is not going to make a world of difference, and a climb or swimming speed increased by 10 feet is not going to make a world of difference. Ambush Master. Starting on 13th level, you excel at leading ambushes and acting first in a fight. You have advantage on initiative rolls. In addition, the first creature you hit during the first round of combat becomes easier for you and others to strike. Attack rolls against that creature have advantage until the start of your next turn. This is good. This is a good, solid ability. You have advantage on initiative rolls, which means you might be able to get out there and hit first. You know, get that sneak attack in. All right, because maybe the enemy doesn't know, you know, hasn't figured out that you're there yet. I like that. We like that. And the fact that it says, in addition, the first creature you hit during the first round of a combat becomes easier for you and your others to strike means not only do you get the benefit of, you know, getting advantage and hitting them first, but now that first turn, everybody gets advantage. And it says attack rolls, not the first attack. All attack rolls have advantage. You will be the paladin, the fighter, and the barbarian's best friend. The issue is that this is only the first round of combat. So as soon as the first round of combat ends, this whole ability is done. And I'm not a fan of that. I don't like abilities that are one time, one use, and then you got to wait for a whole other situation for it to be usable again. You know, that's the point of spells, right? Like, that's the point of having, you know, and even those have ways of coming back and being used multiple times. So the fact that this is, like, really good, but it's like, yep, as soon as that first round of combat's over, so, like, you could start the turn, get that initiative, you could hit, you know, you could hit, or you could try to attack, and you just roll dog shit. You roll snake eyes on that advantage. You roll a 1 and a 4. They both miss. Congratulations, this now ability is useless. Or, even with this advantage, you fucking roll really shitty on your initiative. So you're still middle, you know, you're still middle of the pack. which means half the party isn't going to have that advantage. And sadly, I bet you the pack that the half that is going to go before you is going to be the fighter and the barbarian. Probably not the paladin. Situational. Alright, Sudden Strike. At 17th level, you can strike with deadly speed. If you take the attack action on your turn, you can make one additional attack as a bonus action. And this attack can benefit from your sneak attack even if you've already used it this turn. But you cannot use the sneak attack against the same target more than once in a turn. So in other words, I get to attack twice as a rogue. I can use sneak attack on each of them, but I have to target 2 creatures. This is a great ability. This is a great ability. This is something that rogues, I feel, no matter who you are, if you play a rogue, this is what you want. That ability to attack multiple times and to increase the likelihood of getting sneak attack multiple times. It's solid ability. It does kind of suck that you can't use it on the same target, which I understand, because by 17th level, you know, you'd be doing like, you know, what is it, like 6 or 7 d6 sneak attack damage at this point? So, you know, may even be more than that. You may be at like 8 d6 at this point. You know, so getting 16 d6 sneak attack damage if both attacks hit, like I can understand for power, you know, for kind of figuring out power levels and things like that, why they wouldn't want to do this, but I don't know, because you know, what if you fight a big bad and it's only a big bad? You know, what if there is only one creature there? Then this ability is useless. Doesn't help you. Unless you miss. I guess if you miss, technically I don't think it says that, you know, it says that, you know, you only can use this if the first one has already been used. So I guess, you know, you're basically doubling your chance of getting a sneak attack. So even then, okay, it's good. It's good. But 9th level ability, pretty bad. 13th ability is good, but very, very situational. It's only going to be used so often. And our 3rd level ability, what we get when we first, when we get into the subclass, is just so, I couldn't help but put this poor rogue subclass into my C tier. All right, we will end it here with my C tiers. All right, we have gone through our Fs, our Ds, and our Cs. Check back in for part 2 of my rogue tier list as we explore the good stuff, the Bs, the As, and of course the all coveted S tier. I hope you learned something. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, I will catch you next time.